8:30. Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting is in session. First item on the agenda is anybody got any questions on the August 13th meeting minutes? Okay. Next item is reports. Department of Public Safety, resolution approving firefighters, was it flashover? Anybody here for that?
Yeah.
Chance Merrick?
In May of 2025, the Benton Harbor Department of Public Safety was awarded a $20,000 Upton Foundation grant to help develop a firefighter training center. Since 2021, when we formed our training academy, we've trained well over 2,000 firefighters. 111 have graduated from our fire academy alone. But the one thing that we do not have in Berrien County is any type of permanent firefighter training center. We rely on borrowing from other states. We go down to Indiana a lot, in other areas to train our firefighters when it comes to hands-on fire training. So this grant was awarded to help develop this flashover simulator. This would be the first step in developing this training center. We're working with several other departments to make it a regional facility. So we have $20,000 of funding from the Upton Foundation, and the quote comes in at $29,800. The other $9,800 would come from income raised by our fire training program. So we actually sell our training program to other fire departments. So we have departments in both Indiana and Michigan that pay us on an annual subscription fee. So that money would be used to go towards this. So we're just asking for approval to move this forward.
Okay. This will be located,
So right now, there's two possible locations. There is a joint facility that we're working on in Lake Township. They're making their presentation later this month to their board. But we also have property at the airport we were told we could use as well. So it'll be one of those two facilities is where it would be. And there would be no taxpayer impact on this. This would all be funded by grants and outside revenue.
that's good. Any questions? Anybody got any questions on it? No. All right, because this is move forward, Madam Clerk. Next item is Department of Public Works.
I really don't have anything new to say, but leaf season is coming. Leaf season is getting ready to, is coming up to us. Make sure everybody reminds 10 bags per unit, per house for leaf pickup, and try to keep them under 30 or 40 pounds, because a lot of people have been trying to put a lot of leaves and dirt in them and making them pretty heavy. So
And I'd like to add a little bit too.
Wow, I sure wish I could have addressed the fire chief.
Yes. One, that we're, along with what we're trying to do, we're having our usual difficulties with some of the equipment. We're trying to do repairs as needed. I think we had one truck down this morning. Did we get it back operational?
won't be till tomorrow, probably.
Okay, so we are dealing with those issues as they come along. We have been for this week and last week addressing a problem at Public Works facility. Some weeks ago, some person that was had issues with the city called Eagle about trash that was stored in the back, which has been going on since I think the emergency managers were here. And essentially what it is when people, when they've gone out to clean up alleys and dump stuff and so forth. If they couldn't get it in a garbage truck, then they had to haul it back there and pretty much put it there. Eagle came down and contacted us about it, and I told them we didn't even have to debate it with us. We'd get to it right away, and we are getting close to being finished with that, aren't we?
We probably about 90% of it done.
All right. Yeah, we're just about done with that, and I'm taking pictures and sending them to them to show them the progress that were made. One of the things a lot of people are not understanding is that a lot of the stuff we're doing right now isn't just current stuff, stuff that's been lingering for years, and they're coming home now to roost, and we're doing what we have to do to try to clean it up and get it ready. Also, I wanted to make mention that storm we had about a week ago was somewhat scary, and I think we'll have more of those in time with this climate change situation. I rode through a lot of the streets and saw water practically up to the top of the curb, even where they had new gutters and so forth, and the things have been cleaned out. It was just the volume of rain that came. We're going to be doing in September and October, a lot of cleaning of the storm drains and so forth, probably on about a quarter of the system, but a rain like that still isn't going to make any difference. There's going to be stuff that's going to be there. Because that was just too much water to go down at one time. I mean, when I went down streets like Columbus and Ogden and Superior and all out in there, there was water up to the curbs, and that water was going down just as fast as the drain could take them. But we also have others that we're trying to work on. And lastly, I wanted to mention, I'm noticing that for whatever reason, some probably legitimate and some not, we got people squawking about the alleys. The alleys are the responsibility of the property holder up to the middle of the alley behind them, just as on the front, the tree lines are the responsibility of the property owner up to the back of the curb. The city's right-of-way is 33 feet from the center line of the street, and that typically goes to the back of the sidewalk adjoining a property. And while it's owned by the city, it is the responsibility of the property owner to maintain them. And it's been that way since the city's charter in 1945. There's been some amendments and stuff since then, but somebody came back and said, well, the city cleaned them a couple of years ago. We had a private developer that was working with us and asked, and he responded. He paid with his equipment, his manpower, and then disposal fees and everything to go through and clean as many alleys as he could, most of them out on the south end. And what we had as a result of it was a number of people who came with, in some instances, some real backwards kind of stuff, claiming the fences were damaged, so we had to fix everybody's fences. But again, that's a responsibility of the property owner up to the center line of the curb. They need to cut the weeds down behind there, get the junk out that's behind there. And when they see people dumping illegally, they need to call us so we can catch them and try to stop that stuff. All the dumping that goes on in these alleys and stuff, there's no way in the world that there isn't somebody who sees these people dumping. And that's what
You said that at 33 feet, city, they don't, they have the right of way. They don't own the land that, they don't own the tree line. They just have the right of way there, right?
they don't own the tree line or that half of the alley that they're responsible for, but they are responsible for maintaining it.
Okay.
In fact, if you read through the code of ordinances, you find that even if somebody builds a new house on a lot where there maybe isn't a sidewalk, the manager can require them to build a sidewalk. and to continue with the program. But, and that's the way it's always been. It's nothing new. It's just that I think the years have gone by without anybody enforcing it or making people realize that that's the case. But if a tree is on that tree line and that tree limbs start falling, or it looks like it's going to fall over or whatever, it's a responsibility of the property owner. They should call their homeowner's insurance.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening and thank you, Chairman Singleton. Mary Alice Adams, 152 Lake, City of Benton Harbor, Michigan. I heard what City Manager Little stated, and, you know, when I first started coming down here to meetings, I had that problem. And this was an old historical tree, and I really didn't want to cut the tree down. But the fact was that when it would rain and heavy winds up there on the bluff, you could see it shifting. And when the wind blowed, that if it came down, that it was going to come on the house. And mind you, I had an epileptic child that slept in that room. So I came down, I complained to the city man, then Mitchell, rest his soul, city manager. And I just wanted the city to know that if something happens, and it had to be on the books because they sent somebody over and they took care of that big tree. And I mean, if the tree line is my responsibility as a homeowner, I should be able to do some other things as well, like turning it into a parking, if I need extra parking on my property. I mean, responsibility of a homeowner is the responsibility of a homeowner.
But you,
Is that not true?
Yeah,
I
but-
mean, if I'm responsible for keeping up the tree line as a homeowner, I should be able to do some other things to improve my property that would cause the tax increase to go up in value. So, I mean, my understanding is just zero. I mean, and that hasn't been, what, that was 22, 23?
I think long as it complies with any ordinances or zoning, you know, so those things could be a factor too, so.
I mean, but I
You can-
wasn't responsible for cutting the tree down. The city did it.
I was asking you a question, you said, could you do anything?
I mean,
or-
well, yeah, I mean, but I'm just merely stating that if I'm responsible for the tree limb or branch, if it falls down, I mean, due to wind, storm, or whatever unseen thing, I should be able to improve the tree line as well. I mean, I'm just saying.
If I might, you can improve the tree line. It's simply that depending on what you're doing, I mean,
Yeah,
if it's normal
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
the city is happy to have you do it.
Okay.
But if it's
I mean-
something weird, way out of the way, somebody want to put a
Yeah.
purple,
Okay.
then no, we won't.
Okay, through the chair, while we're on this conversation, because for the past 3 years now, at the end of Lake and Broadway, there's a tree. And I sometimes have no other choice but to go that way because sometimes I just forget that this limb has finally broken. And it's going to get somebody, but it sits on a tree line on the side of one of the Housing Commission homes. Who's responsible?
Just now.
On
See
the
it.
corner of, Broadway and Lake. Across from, Thorogood Homes, apartments. Now, down further on the next corner, there was a problem and somebody else ended up purchasing somebody else's problem. This tree always seems to the leaves just dismantle and fall in the streets and stuff when a storm comes. And it happens to be on this person's property, so they are still, I guess, responsible for that. But the
Right.
tree line thing,
And if that's the case, then that's a code enforcement issue that we'll go and look at that. If necessary, we'll cite the property owner. But I also want to make the point, because you made a good point in saying that at one point the city did it. At various times over the years, the city has engaged in doing extra stuff, just like I mentioned about the alleys. Wasn't necessarily, it wasn't at any point the city's responsibility. But we had a developer that was willing and wanted to help, and this was the way he did it. That doesn't mean because we went through and this developer cleaned up the alleys one year, that suddenly it's the city's responsibility and everybody ought to step back and say, I ain't got nothing to do with it, it's the city. You know, people, if they were around and could remember, back in the 80s, all the trash was picked up in the alley. And in '84, when I came here, they picked it up twice a week in the alley. And it was a requirement that every homeowner had to maintain those alleys. They had to take the trash out of it, they had to keep the weeds cut down, and they were required, if they had a fence, to have a door in that fence so that they could access that alley to clean it and keep it in shape. And that's still there. One of the things that we've been looking at, as you all know, is trying to improve the financial position of the city. Now, as a manager that's been at it for years and years, I recognize that that was a problem, that the city didn't have the money to afford to go running out doing trees that we should not do. Plus, there's a liability issue, because if that tree sitting on that tree line and is a responsibility of that adjoining homeowner that ought to be addressed by them and their insurance. If we start doing something to it and it falls on that house, here comes a claim to us. So we're out of that.
Okay, but just real quick, now, if the taxpayers are responsible for purchasing a tree shredder or whatever, I mean, at some point, but we'll have mercy somewhere along the way.
But mercy often costs money. And
They buy it.
And any tree contractor comes with all the equipment and stuff they need to take care of that. And if they have homeowners insurance will pay that tree contractor.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we're gonna, is the, anything else, Mr. Meeks? Okay. Next item on the agenda is other business. Number one, resolution to approve Ox Creek revitalization plan and directing the city manager to implement and execute the plan in accordance with Resolution 100421-1. Mr. Manager.
If we could, before I turn, I'd like to ask Dane and Marcy if they would do a presentation on the Ox Creek revitalization plan.
All right, thank you for having us tonight to present the newly developed, we've been working on this for a while, but we're happy, drafts went out a little while, people got to review it, so we're at the point where we think have a great plan to move forward, to move this Ox Creek project forward that you've been hearing about for a while, and now dirt is finally moving, things are getting improved, so we're really excited to be at this point. So I think most of you know me, but if not, I'm Marcy Hamilton. I'm with the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, and I'm one of the partners on the project with the city. And as everybody probably knows, Dane with the city, he's our Ox Creek kind of project manager and responsible for community engagement and kind of fostering a lot of the projects that you're seeing along Ox Creek. So with that, we'll just go into, this is just a slide showing where Ox Creek is. It bisects the community right in the middle of Benton Harbor. Ox Creek flows, kind of starts way out in the agricultural fields, but then it flows around the mall area, the Orchards Mall area, and then kind of follows Pipestone down in that valley that you see circled there. And then it flows up through Harbor Shores and out to the Paw Paw River. And then the Paw Paw River flows to St. Joe and out to Lake Michigan. So we're downstream from a lot of people here in Benton Harbor, and they're sending us the water down here, and it's coming through our community and out to Lake Michigan. So This plan is about improving that water, improving that corridor, and making it healthier for everybody, including our wonderful Lake Michigan. So I'm just going to real quick go through the vision statement, the collaborative partnership, the key elements and goals of the plan. There's 7 of them, and kind of where we're going from there. So the vision statement that was, this comes from mostly from a city resolution that was passed a couple of years ago unanimously by the commission. And so we took parts of that to build this vision statement. But it's a vibrant recreational and economic Ox Creek corridor with bike paths, lighted walkways, pedestrian bridges, outdoor classrooms, and new commercial development and housing opportunities. So that's a lot, a lot of recreation, a lot of new development that we want to bring to that corridor to really make it a gem again to this community. Ox Creek, I think, used to be more important. People have kind of turned their backs to it because it's kind of been neglected and thought of as not clean and safe. So we want to turn that around and make it an amenity again in the middle of Benton Harbor. The bottom there is the main members of the collaborative partnership that we've been working with, the city, the township, us, the planning commission. NOAA was one of our biggest funders so far, and Eagle has been amazing in terms of bringing resources to the table for this project, and Emily Fennell with the Office of Great Lakes is a huge advocate for this project everywhere she goes around the nation, the world, the Midwest. She's always talking about Benton Harbor and Ox Creek and how great it is, so it's cool. University of Michigan has been key. They have done amazing work for the city and continue to do so. There's TAB, which is a program from EPA that looks at brownfields. They've been instrumental. Michigan Sea Grant and the Army Corps of Engineers. So as you can see, local, state, federal, all kinds of folks getting involved in this collaborative partnership to make this project successful. So one thing that lays out first in the plan is just the values. We want a healthy environment and wildlife. I see the sign back here about fish contamination. It's going to take a while. It took us over 100 years to get here, and it's going to take a while to fix it all, but we're working towards healthy environment and wildlife. Connectivity with trails, talk about that Ox Creek Trail, which would be so cool to connect downtown out to the township area. Beauty and vitality. We want to make it beautiful and a place that people want to be and gather. Environmental renaissance. We want to, again, not neglect this area anymore. We want to celebrate it. We want to change the narrative, make people appreciate it, have hope, opportunity, and engender some stewardship and engagement in the spaces along the corridor. So these are the 7 elements of the plan. I'm just going to run through them real quick. Hopefully you guys have seen the draft. If not, it is available and we can get it to you. It is in the there's the presentation in the packet, but it's kind of a 60-page document, but the appendix takes up a lot of that, so it's not too bad to get through. And we tried to make a lot of pictures and make it interesting. But element 1 is about restoring that habitat and increasing resilience. And for each of these elements, we kind of have a today and tomorrow vision for each of them. So this is what it looks like today on the top. That's right at Hall Park, right at Highland, looking upstream at Ox Creek. The bottom picture is what we want to see in the future. We want to see native plants and a restored creek and also the public access there. We want to improve the water quality and manage water quantity. As Alex was saying, stormwater and these big storms that we're seeing, we want to be able to handle those better. So we want to put in things like rain gardens and bioswales. And this picture is showing Highland Avenue along Hall Park, and we're working right now with funding from Eagle and EPA to put in green infrastructure which will handle the stormwater better and clean it and filter it before it gets into Ox Creek, and also add parking along there for Hall Park, which will be nice. Many of you have seen the rain gardens out at Meyer, out near the mall there. These were put in a few years ago with funding from Eagle, and I worked with Meyer to do these projects. Again, this water is coming down Ox Creek to us, so the more we can slow it down and clean and filter it out in the township before it gets to us, the better off we are here down in Benton Harbor. So we're working on that. Starting to work with Home Depot and Walmart to do the same thing on their properties. Creating economic redevelopment opportunities. So Project T that's kind of renderings from that, the old Mercy Hospital site. How can we reuse these properties, bring them back to life, offer affordable housing for the community? Those are the types of things we want to see happening along this corridor. Modern Plastics is another one. If you've driven by there, they're starting to work on that property. It's pretty exciting. Right now they're removing the asbestos and all the contaminants out of there. They're going to demo that, and hopefully we can see something like this go in on that site too. So that's along the corridor. So a lot of opportunity to bring in new development, new housing, and new economic opportunity to the city and build our tax base, right? Then, of course, there's the recreation aspect of it, which if you've driven down by Hall Park, we are doing phase 1 right now through a DNR Sport Grant. That picture is when DNR came and presented a check at an event that we had at Hall Park, and that work is underway right now. New basketball fields, new walkways. That is just phase 1. We want to keep getting more funding to do more improvements there. So as part of that park is kind of, I see as like kind of the anchor of Ox Creek in the city. So it's pretty amazing. And I love hearing people's stories about Hall Park. So if you ever want to share, call me. LF5 is about the trails and parks too, but the trail, you would like to see a trail along Ox Creek. The city has funding through HUD, Housing Urban Development, to start the design of that trail. So that'll be coming soon. So be watching out for that. Another big thing is illegal dumping. We want to clean that up. We want to work to prevent more of that from happening. We talked about we want a beautiful place, and we want to steward this area and make it a place that is safe and people want to come to. We're getting ready to talk about the marine debris grant through NOAA again, who has stepped up to fund the cleanup of a lot of this. So we'll be talking about that. And the last element is building that community capacity and stewardship that I talked about kind of through the whole thing is, the Bobo Brazil Center is there. Wouldn't it be great? We're working on that too, to bring that back to the community as a community center and to build that community capacity. A bunch of logos and organizations on this map of people who have been involved and hopefully will be involved in the future more, and it's growing. This is not a stagnant picture. We're adding partners all the time to this network of folks that are interested in being a part of this project and movement. We'd like to call it a movement, right? To improve and revitalize this corridor. So I have this, if people want to look at this later, I can leave this here. It just lists a bunch of the projects along the corridor, from the trail to the restoration and all that. Just kind of a recap, the collaborative partnership has over 15 partners. Dane has been really working hard in the community engagement and coalition building. If you haven't heard, he's got his photo walk with Nick Gunn coming up on the 23rd of September at 5:30. Meet at Bobo Brazil. We have our 3rd annual All Things Wellness event coming up on September 27th not at Hall Park. It's so weird to say at Morton Park. But Morton Park is another success in the corridor. That looks beautiful. We've already secured $13 million. Part of that is funds Dane's position through the NOAA grant. And helped with this plan development. So like I said, Modern Plastics is happening. Hall Park is, phase 1 is happening. Bobo Brazil is happening. Cleaning up the illegal dumping, we start this fall, early winter. We're going to be back talking to you about the first restoration project from Highland to Britain to restore the creek through there. And then those green infrastructure projects I talked to you about will probably start next spring. And like I said, design work for the trail is going to start also. So that's a lot of activity and amazing things that are happening with this project. It's all in this plan. And so that's the presentation. And I do have, like I said, come up and look at this. And I also have these cute little Ox Creek stickers that I encourage you to take home. And if you're into stickers anyway, put it on your water bottle or something. So, and then Dane?
I wanted to add that this revitalization plan, it's our strategic framework for all of the projects that are already underway, plus what we want to do in the future. So it's a strategic plan. It was built off of the Best Benton Harbor plan. It's been cross-referenced throughout the whole document. So all of the public input from the Best Benton Harbor plan is embedded in here. We also took public input at the Ox Creek Summit last July. And at every event, we're always taking input from the public. So when we have something at Hall Park, we're asking, what do you want to see here? How can we implement that? So it's had a lot of input from the public already, and we'll continue that as we move through each one of these different phases of projects.
Okay, thank you. Thank all the people that's working on this in the different committees, I know if Legislative Committee, Planning and Economic Development, Parks, everybody didn't had it, even in public's inputs, definitely a huge project, and it's good to see it's, moving, and hopefully we can keep the momentum and eventually see the final outcome of it, Commissioner, you got any?
If I might, I'd like to add, the plan itself is on a timetable. It's being paid for through a grant that we have that ends on September 30. So this committee was the last opportunity to get it reviewed, to move forward in order to complete everything to get it paid for before that grant ends. And that's why it's urgent to keep it moving now. It's a project that's been at various stages and whatnot for a long time. As a matter of fact, I'd have to say it sort of began back in 1986 when I purchased the railroad right-of-way all the way out past Town Line Road in DeSoto from Conrail, before Conrail broke up into CX section and the others. And it's wonderful to see it starting to finally come to fruition. And I think that we should all be supportive of it and happy for it. I've had some criticism from folks that it's my old plan. What difference does it make if it helps the city? And the city needs these kinds of things to help make it grow and go forward. And I think it's on a plane now that will wind up resulting in a lot of additional development activity that's going to be very positive for the city, that's going to help with our general economic development purposes, which is, as I've said before when we started down this road, increase the city's tax base, increase the population, and improve the general development and quality of life for the city. And I think that's where we're still going. It's not about gentrification, as some people want to complain and say it is. Poor people enjoy a nice place to walk along and fish and have their kids play and so forth, just like anybody else.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Commissioner, you got any questions?
Presentation. I just want to know, how's the first phase coming now with the basketball and all that?
It's coming along great. Current timeline for significant completion is middle to end of November. So the foundation for the basketball courts has been poured. If you haven't been over there, you can check it out. Most of the trail has been, the concrete has been poured. Next steps on the edge of the basketball court is going to be a concrete sitting wall, kind of a retaining wall. They actually started on that today. So it's moving along nicely. We'll do some a ribbon cutting later this fall, but then we'll do a big event next spring and really open it up to the public.
And if I might, let me also add to that, just as a reminder, when this was initially brought forth back in, I believe, end of '22, early '23. The complete plan, if you recall, was over $3.5 million, and this was phase one of it. We're going to be continuing to pursue getting funding to address the other two phases at the same time that we're developing the Ox Creek project too, because I don't want to get to that stage, start pursuing everybody suddenly, this is brand new. It's not new. It's part of a plan that was approved by you couple of years back, and we're just continuing through. These kind of things, when you're dealing with projects of this nature, there are long environmental review processes that have to be completed. SHPO gets into the act and things you've got to do there, and have archaeological monitors and so forth looking at things. You got to worry about the bats thing. You can't touch a tree before October to May, and then we got the water cleanup thing and contagions in it, and the old foundry place that was sitting up there by Campus Q that's been spewing chemicals and stuff, and Eagle has a treatment plant there to pull the water in and treat it. There's a lot to it, and it just takes years to do it.
Mr. Gunther, you got any questions?
No question, just comment. We'll wait to see the finished product.
Ms. Fields?
Great presentation, you two. The stage or the idea that had been brought up before, or just that it wasn't a part of the grant funding, then I know you said you were going to look into some.
Yeah, we tried to include it in the grant, and they pulled it out because they said it was cultural, not recreational. And so it didn't fit with the DNR Spark grant that is funding this first phase. But I think there's still interest in having that, and we just had to find a different funding source for that. So, these grants are very specific about what they will fund and what they won't fund, and that was something that they physically made us remove from the project.
Even though that was removed, like the actual a built stage, in the design of phase one, we have created a flat open space that has power nearby. It's got the hills, the sledding hill that can be used as amphitheater. So there's a space to have a temporary stage at ground level. So we tried to do what we could with the money we had to suit those needs, and then when there's more funding, we'll ramp it up.
And so, yeah, I wanted to say thank you because the activities that was hosted to get the community input and engagement was considered. You can tell from the drafts and outlines and things. And so it's just great to know that it was followed through the entire time. So great job, you guys.
Any comments from the audience? Of course. Step right up.
Hurry, hurry, before your time runs out. Commissioner Mary Alice Adams, Mary Alice Adams, 152 Lake Avenue. I love this. I love this, and it's been a long time coming, just like the railroad track was secured, and the Brownfield Real Authority Board was reignited. This right here was part of the plan. Not only was this part of the plan, but along the creek, in the back of Whirlpool, coming down the canal, stores and stuff. This is long overdue, and we have been we tried for years to secure some funding for Hall Park. Actually, Hall Park was on the list before Fisherman Wharf and the walkway went up. But anyway, I'm excited because it's long overdue. But I have some questions because that water that has bagged up in Hall Park, I never knew that one of these was an aquifer that people used to come and get water from, and now that it's sealed off, it has caused that water to expand in the park. And it's right across from the Tech Center on Main. There's a valve there that needs to be turned on, and that's where the idea came from of trying to create jobs for water bottling up our water and selling it. And we should still be looking at that, because we have a plant that costing us millions of dollars. But that seal down there that's shut off, that's causing that water to expand out, I don't know whose responsibility it is to, but we can't fix a thing and then cause it to not.
Maybe you need to show us where that is. I don't know.
I'd be more than happy to. There's I mean, Cornerstone owns one lot, and I think the other one is the city's. And it's right across from, what's that factory?
Javis?
Javis. Yeah, those empty lots right there along the creek. Yeah.
Where's it? Maybe.
Yeah, I was in a class and they were explaining all that, and I just found it interesting because I learned more about the aquifers and why these people were coming into Benton Harbor catching water in containers. It was cleaner than the water we've been getting.
We'd
So-
appreciate having you show us where that is.
And I most definitely will. Now, my next question is, no, I'm gonna leave it. But thank you, thank you.
Thank you for all your support.
Other comments?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Glenda Wisnett. You all know me. I think it's a beautiful plan, Ox Creek, but I do have a few questions. When you said agricultural land, out, what location is that?
So, in the full plan, we didn't put it in the presentation, but there is a map that shows all the land that drains to Ox Creek, and it's all the way out here in Bainbridge Township and through Benton Township, all of this land, kind of anything east of 94, you know, this is agricultural, like Michigan College is up here, so all of that property is draining to Ox Creek and
Does that include sodas or soda?
no, it does not really include, but there's a little bit of Sodus Township down here, this little piece.
What about the school? Is it close to that school, Soda School?
Sorter School? Yeah, Sorter School's right on Pipestone, that's right up in here.
Okay, now, from my understanding, Mr. Sorter built cabins back in the day. He was a part of the Underground Railroad, where, you know, it came through here, it goes to Cassopolis and also Vandalia. Now, I don't know if you know the history of Ben Harbor, but I am Ben Harbor born, Mercy Hospital. Now, back in the day, Stern Brunson, Celia McCoy, and Calvin Britton, the bridge collapsed. They asked St. Joe to help them. St. Joe said no. These three men took rowboats to Chicago and met with engineers. So that's why our bridge is built. That's why we have the factories. That's why we have the jobs, the money in this city. We had a train in Ben Harbor. I don't know if some of you remember that, but we did. So what you're doing is really great. But also, Mr. Sorter built cabins where slaves came from the South there. And I also was told, I think a lot of y'all know my father, there's a couple of the older people from Ben Harbor, that slaves actually died on that land. So would that be sacred grounds by Sorter School, or do you know anything about that?
I don't know. I mean, we know about the Underground Railroad activity in the area, but not a specific
Graveyard.
property or anything.
Okay, it was, so,
And I might add that what you're mentioning is one of the requirements placed on us by SHPO, that when we start doing ground disturbance of certain areas, we have to have an archaeological monitor that's certified by them to come in and monitor what's happening in case we do stumble on and start to disturb either a cemetery or a burial plot, or for that matter, even cultural things. And when that occurs, there's a whole long procedure that's involved that we have to stop things and go through to make sure that's preserved if it's
so
there.
wouldn't it be better to do a study before you disturb? Because if that's sacred grounds,
As much information as we can get, yes, it would be.
and have you all did that yet?
We've done some of that.
Okay,
And
so
I say
public-
some of that because you're never sure when you're
Right,
really
but it's in
complete.
public, I mean, because, 200 years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, but I know the Underground Railroad did run through St. Joe, Ben Harbor, to Vandalia, to Cassopolis. And if Mr. Soda was kind enough to build cabins for runaway slaves, I appreciate that, and I'm pretty sure you all would too, and that could be a historical site. I mean, maybe it might change your plans a little bit.
Do you know where they were or not?
I have to check some of my father's records, and you all should probably check that too, because if they were underground, they were slave cabins, they died. I'm sure they didn't make it public because these people were running away from slavery in the South. So, and
We would
also,
appreciate whatever you can give us on that.
and also, will 200 Paw Paw be included in this Ox Creek, that building?
No, it's not.
Yeah, okay. And another thing I wanted to ask you, will this project bring any jobs to the citizens of Benton Harbor? Because we see a lot of companies coming in here, but we're not seeing a lot of our residents getting jobs. And when you work, we do pay 1% tax to the city of Benton Harbor, so we'd appreciate if you all had jobs or mentorship or apprenticeship, something you could do for our citizens.
That is part of the plan. If you look in the Create Economic Opportunities, I'm sure we do have stuff about internships and youth internships that we're trying to promote, so yes.
Okay, when you say try, is there a certain demographics that you're focusing, or how will people know about these jobs? Because in this plan, it's fine, because we read it, but not everybody's at this meeting. Not everybody knows about that, so what I would like to see.
We intend to reach out to citizenry and help identify people that are able and want to work and provide training and whatnot, because there's going to be a long-term employment component to this. Security along the trail, the entire length of it, security to prevent additional dumping and whatnot that we're trying to clean up now, and a lot of that kind of stuff.
And I'd like to see engineering programs for our young men and women too, because, I mean, I was the first in my field as a black building inspector, made Ebony and all the magazines, but at the same time, I want the same opportunities, because Ben Harbor we have a plethora of young men and women that are very smart, intelligent, but they need to be given the opportunity, and this is a great opportunity. It also makes you all look good too, that you all are doing something for our citizens. I know the police department has stepped up. This is not your meeting. They've stepped up 200% since I've been here. So I know if they can do that, that you all can do this from an economic development standpoint also.
Yeah, this will be a linear park, which will be in addition to the rest of the park system we have. And ultimately, the plan is to provide a means to carry on top-quality maintenance, security, and everything necessary to help make them be successful and play the part that they can play in helping to rebuild the community.
Yeah, because, you know, when I went to high school here, people came into Ben Harbor High School. Stevensville, Coloma, they weren't supposed to be, but they did because we had such a great high school, and Ben Harbor was such a great place. Like I say, when these two men took this rowboat to Chicago to build that bridge, it brought financial stability to the city of Ben Harbor. And I know that we can have that again, and Ox Creek could be a push. Hopefully it's a part of that. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, I need to ask a question. I remember when this project first popped up, Commissioner David Shaw was here, and he was so excited about Hall Park. So now here we are, 20 years later, and it's happening. It's all good. Then in that first presentation, it was referred to housing in this project. I noticed that some economic development is also in this project, and I would like to know more information about housing and economic development. It's good to have good words in your presentation, but it's better to have action in it. So those two things I'm very interested in. It's been talked about. No, it's been mentioned. It hasn't been talked about. And I would like to have more information about both of those two.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, on the housing end of it, that has been very much from the beginning a part of the plan. And realistically, again, just to state a fact, this project didn't start when you're referring to this project started in 1985. When I bought that right-of-way for the city, I also bought an old junkyard that sat right down here at the bottom of the hill. And they had cars and trucks and gas and engines and everything under the sun out there, and we bought that and cleaned that up and got that out. That was one of the first steps in getting going on that, after removed the bridge down here at the Paw Paw River that was blocking it. I know a lot of stuff's a long time ago, and the only other person in the room that I know that was around then was Ron. He was in the police department then. But two months ago, I had a developer come to town to look at housing opportunities because I'm starting to reach out. The most ready place initially, and where I had them look, was the valley down there, just below the hill down Britain and on Valley Drive down through there. We were looking at that in light of what part of that might be developable now. And the problem we run into is only the hillside right behind the school going down the hill to this other creek is where development could occur right now. Because once you get on the other side of the creek, and not talking of Ox Creek, what's the name of that other creek? Eastman Creek. On the other side of it, all the way up to where the foundry used to be, there's, when that foundry there, I forget the name of it. Yeah, Harbor Plating was back in the 90s identified as a real problem, and they fenced that in, and instead of going all the way up Valley Drive the way you used to, now, because it used to go up in front of Campus Q. Now you're coming down Schultz Drive there. But all of that property in there is part of the property that Eagle has set up to pull that water into that treatment facility. They're treating the water before it goes into the creek, and then they discharge it into the creek. It's pretty difficult to get somebody to build houses on top of land where all of that's going on. And we then got into the discussion about how long was it going to take to complete that process. And realistically, nobody knows right now for sure. But we are still looking at that. Beyond that, one of the other prime areas for housing is going to be, once a lot of this work is actually completed and that area starts to become beautified, those ridges on both sides, the bluffs, are going to become prime areas for housing.
Can I add something too, Anita? You know, a lot of times, I feel like when we go into communities, we want to try to do what the city can to improve the parks and build the trail, and you put that public infrastructure in there and clean up the trash. Like, those are the things that we have to do to make it attractive to developers to come in. So it's a process. We're not, like I said, it took us 100 years to get here, and we're not going to fix it in 20 years. You know, it's taking time, and we have to start somewhere, and that's what we're doing. This is a plan, and some of the economic development housing are, you know, we're going to, you know, Project T is happening, and, you know, something may happen at Modern Plastics, but the stuff in this corridor, we've got to do the work to improve it and make it nicer to attract the development. So that's really what we're focusing on, and that's what we can get grant money to do right now. So it's a process. And I know we want it all to happen sooner, and I wish it could. I wish I could snap my fingers and it'd be
I've been
done.
here for 76 years, so I mean, and I know that we have to do things, but when I hear a document, or I hear people say that these things are gonna happen and they don't give me any information, this is the first time I've had the information as where these houses could be built. But I also have no information as to where the other part of the housing, and what kind of housing are you entertaining?
A lot of that's in your master plan too,
Yeah.
in your city master plan.
Yeah, and, yeah, it didn't give me a lot of information as to what kind of housing would be built in that area. I just love to say the word gentrification, because it's it's live in color to me. And if I don't see any improvement in our action, that's all we're gonna get. So I wanna make sure that when we do entertain developers, that we're looking out for the mass of the people, not just the newcomers. Because we do need newcomers, and they're coming. They're here in the community right now. They're coming. You can't keep them away from us. Benton Harbor is a gem. And so they are coming, but if we don't stop gentrification, and if you don't see it, I feel sorry for you. If you can't see it.
If I might, I could help you with that.
If you can help with it, because that, it's very irritating and agitating to me to.
It's real.
To see it and not be able to stop it.
Gentrification refers to displacement. That's the key word. The displacement of the present population with others. That's not happening here. Benton Harbor has almost 50% of its residential area unoccupied. There's plenty of place for new people to come.
Well, I'm gonna
We
stop
are
you
right
from,
now
let me
putting
stop
about
you from
$50
talking
million
about that right now, because every empty lot, every torn down building is a family that left Benton Harbor. So don't tell me that it's not happening. It already happened. And we're trying to get it to a place where we can slow it down or we can stop it. So please don't tell me that it's not happening.
With all due respect, when I came here in '84, this town still had 16,000 people in it, and mostly they were black. A lot of them were teachers, principals, lawyers, doctors still, and a lot of working class people.
I understand that
Yes,
history.
but what
I
I'm
understand
telling
that.
you is
I lived
that
it.
It
I
is,
lived it. Please, would you please
Yeah.
stop giving
Yeah,
us
this is-
that storyline that you giving us? I don't want to hear the storyline. We know what happened. I lived it. I saw it happening. So I know what you're talking about. But it's still gentrification. It's still running people out of town. The next generation is senior citizen. The big people that own their homes now, that's what we're waiting on. The last shoe to drop. Take those homes for those senior citizens to die, and nobody, so I need to know that we are actually looking out for the people of Benton Harbor when we're looking at them housing and economic development. We haven't talked about that one yet. We just talked about housing. We might be in disagreement, but it still boils down to what kind of housing, where the housing is gonna be, and what economic development is gonna happen, and who's gonna benefit from it. It boils down to them two right there. And I still haven't got my answer on economic development, so that would be well-deserved if I could get that.
comments will be taken under advisement, and we'll see that those things are addressed.
Thank you so much. That's all I need. Thank
Can
you.
I touch base on some solutions?
thank you for your comments, Commissioner. What you say?
I heard Mr. Little mention the valley and all of that, and sometimes I wish I could forget something, but I guess it's just not meant to. That's why I'm here. Ex-Representative Pashoka procured a grant to clear that property, and this was during a time where gentrification was meant to be. That's why emergency management came into play, but we put a halt to all of that, and the recent death of George Floyd that the world got a chance to see actually helped that initiative as well for things to shift and change, but there's still a place and plan, and the more I listen, I'm seeing it all unfold. Does the school still own that property down in the valley? Okay, so it's hard, okay, and we have to, Okay, so something else is going to have to happen. The solution that I came up with as legislative chair of looking into other communities was something that T.D. Jakes came up with. And that was the simple fact that the way to stop gentrification or to not satisfy everyone, but to look out for the least of us, is to basically put some legislation in place to where, okay, my house is worth 200,000. It's worth 100,000. If somebody chooses to move across the street and build up $1 million home or whatever, my taxes do not move. So there's something legislatively that needs to happen, period.
Okay, anybody else?
I'd just like to remind people, if I could, that there's about $50 million going into the Housing Commission to redo Harbor Towers over here, to redo the homes up at the bus development. They're also going to be working on over 101 single-family units that are currently part of Hope 6 and some additional ones that are not part of Hope 6. So there is a great deal that's being done to address housing across the board. Within the next 60 to 90 days, I anticipate putting out an RFP to try and get developers that are interested in coming in and addressing the vacant plots that we've got and so forth, to see if we can get other housing here in the city.
All right,
My comment is based off what former Commissioner Mary Alice said about taxes. That is a great idea, because I lived in Plano, Texas, and seniors I think at 65, they don't pay taxes, they don't pay school taxes. That would be a great idea for Benton Harbor, for the senior citizens who own homes. Because what you all have on books now for homestead is ridiculous, because if you own $600 in excess, you can't claim it as homestead. It shouldn't be that way. So if you all could put into legislation, like she said, something saying that, what T.D. Jakes said, that if there's, at 65, that our taxes don't go up, or our taxes pretty much go away. Because people are not building $40,000, $50,000 homes anymore. They're building $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 homes in Benton Harbor. So that would make our taxes go up, because they go by, the area that you're in. So that would be something, I don't know if that's the county or if that was the city, but I know the city has a lot of power that they're not using. So I just asked if you would exercise that.
Consensus for this item to move forward, Madam Clerk. Next, resolution, Mr. Manager, number 2.
This is approval, a resolution to approve the manager executing a contract with the low bidder for doing the Ox Creek Marine Debris Removal Project. This is a part that we talked about where, as of October, when we're free of the bat problem, we can begin going in trying to clean up the hillsides and get rid of the old refrigerators, car parts, stoves, and tires, and whatever other junk that's been thrown down those hills for the last 50 years, to try to see if we can get a lot of that stuff cleaned up and out of there, which is one of the phases of this project. We hope to do that between October and May, so that we're done by the time the bat restriction comes back in again.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, you got any questions? Mr. Gunther? Ms. Fields? Anybody? Consensus move this item forward, Madam Clerk. Let's bring us to public comments. Anybody have any public comments? You can come to the table there, and any public comments? Hearing none. Next item, meeting is adjourned till October. Oh.
What I wanted to say is, Mr. Little mentioned that developers to come in and build on lots. I know right now, even years before I was in my seat, we can't sell lots right now. So I know I have a lot of residents, especially Fourth Ward, that want to buy lots, and I expect them to have first preference if we do lift the monumentary on the lots. That's all, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other? It's time the meeting is adjourned till October the 18th. Thank everybody for their comments, and this is a moving target, so continue to come out and